I was not expecting like the launch thing. That was like, oh
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you add the sticker on there, you get about 10 horsepower.
Really?
No, that's ridiculous.
I think that we should just drive this car into the ditch.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Off-road ability, that's a part of it, right?
It is, and that's what we want to review as well.
It's a sad. It's an embarrassment.
It is embarrassing.
For me. Okay.
We're Kiwi GT. We're a New Zealand-based car show. I'm a self-proclaimed car guy. Andy...
It's not. I don't know anything about cars. I know they take me from A to B.
He has a background in science, though. He's also a family man, so he brings a different perspective to the whole thing, right?
A family perspective.
Oh, I like that. PG. So today we're standing in front of... Do you know what we're standing in front of?
We're standing in front of a BMW Gran Coupe of some kind.
Oh, okay. Pretty good. You've done your homework. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. So it's a 2016 BMW 440i Gran Coupe, which essentially means it's a four-door version of a two-door car, a coupe. Kind of weird. But this car is somewhat contentious in BMW's lineup, mostly for its styling. Any guesses why?
It's something to do with the boot being bigger, but I don't really know.
You've done too much revision for this, man. You're doing too well. You're right. The contentious part of the styling is indeed that. But why would it be contentious, right? I mean, what's so contentious about that? We're going to get into that a little bit later. The other reason why this car is kind of unique is that there's no fully fledged M model, despite being a million M badges all over the car. There's an M4, which is a two-door. There's an M3, which is a four-door, but there's no M4 Gran Coupe.
Why is it an M4 for a two-door and an M3 for a four-door? It seems like they're reversing stuff there.
Well, that does seem a bit odd, doesn't it? Because the numbers don't match.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that you mention it, that's kind of weird. But let's not talk about BMW's naming, because we'll get into a rabbit hole.
Okay.
And unless you enjoy rabbit holes, they look quite warm.
You know what rabbit holes
hospitable.
enjoy? Sponsors.
Ah, well, now's a good time to introduce our sponsor of today. So we are based in New Zealand. We don't really have much in the way of sponsors since we are being sponsored by Carrots.
Yeah.
So we do have to give this one back actually a bit later. So we've got to be careful with it. But anyway, we're going to take this car for a drive, see what this thing's all about, and then talk about the contentious styling.
Vehicles!
Launch control, Andrew. Left foot hard on the brake, right foot on the accelerator. For some reason, all the YouTubers like to narrate what their feet are doing when they do this. It says launch control active. Let go.
Oh, shit. Oh, holy man. That's like a roller coaster.
That's 100 Ks.
Oh, shit.
Pretty rapid.
That was really
Pretty and that's why people go for the 440. I mean, if you've seen the BMW numbering system, there are numbers everywhere. It's like you have to have a major in calculus to figure it all out. But the 440 is the top of the line version of this car before you get to the fully fledged M, which I talked about before.
So this would be the most rapid.
The most rapid prior to getting the fully fledged M car, which is we'll find one to review at some point. You'll see the difference.
Okay.
Point being, the engine in this car is codenamed B58. Has become somewhat legendary since its launch, which is roughly around this time when this car came out, 2015, 2016.
Okay.
It's the classic BMW formula. It's a six-cylinder engine, straight six, not a V6, turbocharged, plenty of power, rear-wheel drive, which is considered something of a pure sort of sports car layout. And it really does drive really well. There's another YouTube channel called Savage Geese, and there's this guy on there called Jack, who's about 12 foot tall. And he's essentially started a religion around this B58 engine because it's just so well renowned. And what makes it special, other than its performance and its metrics, is that it appears to be quite reliable. It's paired with a transmission, an 8-speed automatic transmission made by a company called ZF, which is also somewhat renowned globally for being a really strong performer, really reliable. That kind of thing. ZF, yeah.
BMW doesn't make the engine.
No, they make the engine, the transmission.
Oh, transmission,
yeah,
sorry.
So it's outsourced to another company called ZF. Okay. And this company makes transmissions for all sorts of other vehicles, including Audi, etc. So they all kind of share in on it. And it really is a strong gearbox. It's so easy to get on with. Unlike other performance transmissions.
You'd be mates with a ZF.
Oh, I'd have a relationship with the ZF 8-speed. Pretty much. I mean, I'm in love. I'm in love. And so the other, for example, another kind of commonly used technology for sports car transmissions is called a dual clutch transmission, DCT. Other manufacturers are called it different things. And those are really, really rapid and they feel really good, but the downside is they tend to be kind of clunky when you're driving around town at low speeds.
Okay.
The beauty of this more traditional 8-speed automatic made by ZF is that it doesn't ever feel clunky. That's why it's so easy to get on with. But it still has the performance. It still shifts gears really quickly, not as lightning quick as the dual clutch transmissions, but quick enough, right? So in terms of performance, you know, this car is a clear winner. I mean, you can't really be looking for much more power than that on the road. You wouldn't get a chance to use it. In terms of, you know, fawning after the fully fledged M4 or M3, I mean, sure, it's nice to have those top of the line models, don't get me wrong, but you can easily be very, very happy with the performance of this vehicle and not be searching for more. If you did want more, the other beauty of this particular engine is that you can do what they call tune it, right? So you can adjust the software through third-party tools that suddenly unlock a whole bunch more power at the press of a button.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Why does that not come standard from like BMW?
Good question. Well, lots of reasons. And so one might be emissions. And so they all have these quite strict emission standards and regulations they have to meet. Another might be fuel efficiency. And so generally speaking, the lower output, the more fuel efficient it is. So it helps them reach numbers. But I think more importantly, this engine has headroom, they kind of call it, in terms of it can make more power than it came with.
Okay.
Right? But they need to leave space for the M3, M4, the top of the line models, and so they can't have the horsepower numbers being too close, or else there's not enough of a reason to jump.
Yes, okay, so people would they'd be cannibalizing their own market.
Yeah, they're cannibals. From a performance standpoint, you couldn't really be asking for much more. I mean, you could if you were greedy gobblegannet, which I know you are, but you know, I think from a performance standpoint, there's nothing really to critique much more than that. Let's get back to the particularly contentious part, the styling. Have a chat about that.
Okay.
Oh, you're in the back seat.
Yeah, that's like...
I was like, where's Andy? That's weird. Anyway, so let's get back to the styling. So, contentious part aside, I want to talk about some of the styling aspects of this car that I really do like.
Okay.
So, first and foremost, I think the front end has this kind of aggression and presence on the road that still looks really good, even though this is a previous generation car. They've since released a completely new generation of the 4 Series and 3 Series, so on and so forth.
Okay.
But one thing that stands out, I think, about this front end are the kind of classic BMW, they're called kidney grills, which is kind of weird that they're like organ shaped. Like, why not pancreas grills, for example?
Yeah, no, I'd love a pancreas grill. Maybe, yeah, okay.
Anyway, so supposedly, you know, the classic shape is this sort of kidney sort of shape of the grills. What they've done in the newest generation is completely changed that. They've made it either much bigger, depending on which model you're looking at, or if you look at the M3 or M4, they've got this kind of like be the teeth kind of weird vertical version of it, which is contentious as well.
I've seen those.
They love contention, these guys.
Are those electric cars?
Some of them are, but not all of them. No.
Okay. How do you tell? Can you tell from the grill?
You can tell from various aspects, actually.
Okay.
Usually the badge on the back is the best way to tell.
Okay.
Or telepathy is the other way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beep.
Exactly. That's how I normally identify vehicles. So the kidney grills, I think, on this actually look really good. They've dated really well. The other thing I really appreciate is the headlight design. What I appreciate about them is this kind of almost 3D look. They kind of jut out from the front of the hood, as they say in North America.
What do they do in other cars?
Well, they don't always come out like this. They usually flush with the line, you know?
Okay.
And so coming out like that kind of gives it this three-dimensional look.
It's kind of like a person with a raised eyebrow. What's going on there?
It's exactly like that. Yeah. So what I mean, I think that does add something to the front profile, depending on what angle you're looking at it on, right? Okay. So that's, I mean, and when the light signature is on as well, and maybe I can have that showing.
Light signature?
Yeah, it's called a light signature. When, you know, you can see the sort of shape of they're called daytime running lights. See that sort of shape?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Do you know what shapes are? Well, it's because
my favorite cracker.
People from overseas won't know what that means.
Okay.
But the light signature is kind of like when you look in the rearview mirror and there's a car like this behind you, you can see its daytime running lights are on. It has a certain signature.
Look. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Like, okay,
We're
gotcha.
learning.
It's like a fingerprint.
Yeah, yes.
Except lots of mass-produced cars presumably have the same fingerprint.
Yeah, correct. So
okay,
they're not all unique. Yeah,
okay.
that's where it all falls down. Man, good analogy, but sort of B minus. Yeah.
Almost a C plus.
Almost, which would be nice.
Wow.
So anyway, front end I think is good. The other thing I really like about the design of this car is this particular line here, this strong line that goes all the way from the front, all the way to the rear. It's actually slightly on an angle, which kind of gives it this sort of stanced presence, kind of this aggression on the road. And I think that line in particular helps set this apart from its 3 Series sibling, which is the non-coupified version.
There's a lot to think about here. This is stuff I don't think about with vehicles at all.
You wouldn't really,
It's a
would you?
line.
Yeah.
It's just like a bevel.
It's a line, but it's a means something, right? If you think about it from the engineering standpoint, I mean, to factor that in to their build was going to cost them something, you know? It's not simple adding a line like that in a curvature.
How do
so
they...
they've done it on purpose, obviously. Also, this particular model has what's called the M Performance sort of side skirts, which a skirt is a bit of an odd...
Because they're like, performance.
Yeah, it's kind of the word skirt doesn't really make sense for it. But anyway, this decal is actually just a sticker, essentially.
Yes.
This black line with the M Performance sticker
Oh,
on
it
it.
is a black line. It's not quite the same colour.
It just looks the same colour as the car because the colour's quite dark.
Yes.
But that also, in certain lighting and certain angles, does help kind of give it this sporty look because that line cuts into what would otherwise be quite a straight bottom edge, you know? And so that gives this impression of movement and flow and, you know, angle. So I think that really helps sit across the side profile as well.
Does it actually make it go any faster, like aerodynamically or anything like that?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, does
it? When you add the sticker on there, you get about 10 horsepower.
Really?
No, that's ridiculous.
I thought it was, but I don't know this stuff, man.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't judge you, but I do. I do judge you. So what I like about the rear in particular is, I mean, I've already talked about this liftback style being contentious. I personally like it because what it does is it gives the rear quite a short deck, is what they'd say. A sort of short rear deck. And that to me gives the impression that the front, the hood or the bonnet is longer. And that is a sort of a classic sports car style design when it's got a long hood. So this short kind of rear deck helps amplify, I think, that front end. But
having a longer front is advantageous.
Well, I personally think so. It's a stylistic thing. It's subjective. But it has been a classic kind of motif of car design, especially sports cars, to have a long hood. So I personally like it, but it does sometimes give it a bit of an awkward angle too. Depending on where you are situated, looking at it can look a bit odd because it is so short. And, you know, this particular part here, even though that gives it so much of its styling cues, also gives it most of its awkward angles too. So I think that's why it was contentious, especially when it first came out.
Yes.
Now, though, this sort of style, the liftback style, Audi calls it sportback, is far more commonplace. And I think because of that, it's become less contentious and more desirable to have one of these, in my opinion. But again, it depends who you talk to. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Can you fit all the same stuff that you normally want to fit, like a pram in that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually more practical because you can do a lot more with it. It's a lot more practical than the standard 3 Series with its enclosed boot because you've got all the space to play with. So
and stylistically, like just as appealing or more appealing.
Well, exactly. So I think it's a winner, but it's up to you to decide. The other thing,
why two exhausts?
Well, that's another sort of classic sports car stylistic cue, having 2 exhaust outlets. It doesn't actually do anything for the performance of the car, although this does have a sort of a smart switch that when you put the car into sport mode, it opens up a little flap in one side of the exhaust that allows the gases to flow through and produces more sound. The gases.
That's how these cars are propelled. It's the gases.
Well done. Bringing a scientific flair. I like that. No, but what I actually like about the rear exhausts is that the way they kind of just hang off the back. Normally, exhaust pipes like this are kind of enclosed in a little housing. There's some trim that go around it, and so it's sort of part of the vehicle. BMW decided just to have these things just hanging off the bottom. It kind of almost looks like they're just attached almost half-heartedly at the end. But I actually really like that. It's quite unique. No, I mean, other cars don't have that.
I'm chill about my exhaust.
Well, pretty much, man. That's what they've done. They've just hung them there like, yeah, it's all good, mate. But it's actually turned out...
Are they tied up with like some string or something?
No, not string. I think it's just glue. You know, the glue sticks from school. You just sort of, Then you don't. Anyway, so all things said and done, I mean, obviously, I personally like the styling of this car. I understand where the contention comes from. I understand that some people think it looks awkward in some angles, and I agree, it does on some angles. But for the most part, I think it, matches style with practicality. You can't go wrong if you happen to like the style.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a nice vehicle.
It's a vehicle that you like.
You can tell it's a BMW. See?
No, you can't.
Yes, you can. It's got the badge. You said badge.
I never said badge. I've never once said badge, Andrew. Anyway, should we go take a look at the inside?
Let's do that. Lock.
Oh, you're locking us in. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
To everyone else, it looks like we've just teleported into the interior, but we've kind of been dicking around for quite a while, to be honest. Yeah.
I like teleportation.
I'm interested in it. I just don't know if it's feasible. Anyway, so the interior of this car is kind of an interesting one. So this is the F series BMW. So this interior was kind of used throughout several of their models. And it's okay. I just think it lacks some of the emotion that BMW's competitors had, mostly in the sort of Audi S4, S5, and then the Mercedes AMG C43. Which came out in different years, and to be fair, some are newer, some are older. But there's just something kind of upright and almost, I don't know why I want to say bureaucratic about this design.
He's saying it's a bit more utilitarian.
Yeah, I think so. It's just I don't know. There's fewer curves. It's all very like straight up and down. It's not a bad place to be by any means. You wouldn't think it's a crappy interior, but compared to its competitors, I just think it lacks some of that emotional feel.
Okay.
But that's not for everyone. Again, it's subjective.
Yeah.
But however, there are a few things that can really elevate this interior, and it makes all the difference. And so it comes down to the options that you can spec when you buy the vehicle, right?
Okay.
And so this particular one has the M Sport steering wheel, like basically every other bloody BMW had. Literally I wouldn't be surprised if a bloody penny farthing had one of these. They're just so common, these steering wheels, but they're really, really nice. I mean, they're nice and thick, they're soft. It's a classic steering wheel design. You probably don't think too hard about that, but I really appreciate it. Same with the paddles. Don't laugh at me appreciating it.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
So the paddles, I mean, are just of a higher quality than, for example, the Audi equivalents at the time. Audi had these really small plastic ones that just weren't satisfying to use. And so little design elements like that do make a difference. But the real options that make a huge difference in this car are twofold. One is the digital dash, which this one doesn't have, or the instrument cluster.
Okay.
So you can see that this here is analog, meaning, it's physically moves the needle on the tachometer and that kind of thing. But you can get a digital version. And despite that digital version not being as good as, say, Audi's equivalent, which came out a couple of years later, it's something about that really does elevate the interior, makes it feel like you're in something more modern. The other feature, which really goes a long way, is an option called extended leather, which brings leather up onto this dash here.
Is this actual leather?
No, this one doesn't have it.
No, okay.
And so that's what I was saying.
It looks like plastic.
It is. And that's the problem. It looks really sort of plasticky and hard and rubbery.
It actually looks like the exact interior element of my Volkswagen Golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and not that the Golf... Well, no, I mean, it's not that the Golf is a bad car either. I'm just saying replacing that with leather goes a long way in making this vehicle feel more premium. And I think if you get this car optioned out with the digital instrument cluster and the extended leather package, then it suddenly becomes, on par or beyond its competitors, in my opinion. Tachometer, well done.
I'm stuck on that word. That's a fascinating word. What is that?
It's the rev counter.
Yeah. Tachometer.
Yeah. Yeah, car words. Yeah, silly. This being the four-door version of the two-door car,
yes,
it is compromised on rear seat headroom because of the curvature of the back, but it still fits comfortably for adults.
Okay.
Roughly up to 6 foot. Anything more than 6 foot in the back, and you're really struggling.
Headroom
wise,
okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Legroom, fine.
And is a carrot's an option?
Carrot is not an option. It's it's optional by you. BMW didn't offer an official BMW carrot. Unfortunately, I believe they are now offering one.
Put a little M badge on it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, well, you could probably take one of the countless M badges elsewhere in this vehicle. So, sound system is okay. Even though this is the upgraded Harman Kardon. I don't know what all the sound systems from the vehicle manufacturers always have two words. It's Harman Kardon or Bang & Olufsen or fiddle-dee-dee and fiddle-dee-dum. It's just, I don't know why. They just do it.
I've heard of the fiddle-dee-dee and fiddle-dee-dum
system.
It's
well-renowned.
Top-notch.
Absolutely, 100%. So the sound system's okay. It's a bit muddy, a little, in the sort of 200 hertz range, which is unfortunate, say, compared to the Audi's Bang & Olufsen system of the same generation, I think is a little bit better. Okay. But it's serviceable by all means, and depending on what you're comparing it to, it's actually a really good sound system. So it's all kind of apples and oranges. I should have said carrots instead. That would have been much more on point.
That's an embarrassment for us.
It is. We'll just have to pull down the video.
I think that we should just drive this car into the ditch.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
off-road ability, that's a part of it, right?
It is, and that's what we want to review as well.
Let's assess.
Assess is a bit generous to describe what we've just done. But amongst all the smack talk, we've uncovered what makes the 440i Gran Coupe a standout vehicle amongst its peers and competitors. The liftback styling is a love or hate thing, we get it. But if you're on board with it, what you get underneath is a practical, rapid, and reliable GT car at a compelling price point. And with no M4 Gran Coupe dangling in front of you, carrot reference goes here, you might just feel like you've made a smart decision.
I quite enjoyed the seats. They were really good, very comfortable.
Were they actually? I think you're talking
They are.
rubbish.
No, genuinely nice seats.